the mystery of perception and the colors of our reality. Imagine this. You're sitting with a friend, both of you staring at the same beautiful sunset. You agree the colors are breathtaking. Red, orange, purple. But have you ever wondered, are you actually seeing the same colors? What if what you call red is what I see as blue? What if the entire world is filtered through the lenses unique to each of us, and we'll never truly know how others perceive it? That question has bothered me ever since I was 6 years old. And it's not just about colors. It's about the way we see, think, and experience life itself. Before we get started, what's up? My name's Nick Jackson, and this channel is here to give you insights on philosophy, psychology, conspiracy, and spirituality. If any of those things are interesting to you, subscribe to my channel, hit that like button to help push this video forward in the algorithm, and if you have thoughts on anything in this video, start a conversation in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your perspective. Alright, let's dive into the fascinating world of perception, reality, and the mysteries of the human experience. Perception is one of the most profound and complex aspects of being a human. Our senses are like translators, interpreting the world around us. But the question is, how accurate are they? Plato once wrote about the allegory of the cave, a story that suggests we're all like prisoners in a cave, watching shadows on a wall, mistaking them for reality. Think about it. Our brains are essentially enclosed in darkness, relying on electrical signals from our eyes, ears, and skin to tell us what's happening outside. But how do we know if our version of reality is the same as someone else's? Let's start with the colors. Neuroscientists have discovered that colors aren't properties of objects, they're created in our brains. When light hits an object, its surface absorbs some of the wavelengths and reflects others. Your brain takes that reflected light and translates it into what you call red or blue. But what if my brain interprets those wavelengths differently than yours? It's impossible to say for sure because we're trapped within the limits of our own consciousness. Here's a mind-blowing statistic. About 8% of men and 0.5% of women are colorblind, meaning their brains interpret certain colors differently. But what if everyone is a little colorblind to someone else's reality? This goes beyond sight. Every sensation, every emotion is filtered through our own personal experiences, biases, and biology. As philosopher Immanuel Kant once said, we see things not as they are, but as we are. Now let's talk about language. Language is the tool we use to share our experiences, but it's also a barrier. Take the word love, for example. You and I might use the same word, but does it feel the same to us? Does your heartbreak feel like mine? Or happiness? Language gives us framework, but it's not perfect. In fact, some cultures have words for feelings or experiences that other languages don't. The Japanese word komorebi describes the sunlight filtering through trees, something we experience but don't have a single word for in English. How many parts of life are like that? Indescribable, yet deeply felt. A famous quote by neuroscientist David Eagleman captures this perfectly. The brain is a storyteller. Your brain doesn't perceive reality, it constructs it. It fills in gaps, edits out irrelevant details, and even creates illusions to help you make sense of the world. Have you ever looked at a cloud and seen a face? Or heard your name in a crowded room when no one actually said it? That's your brain weaving patterns and meaning into chaos. But here's the catch. Just because your brain constructs your reality doesn't mean it's the ultimate truth. Take a moment to think about this in a bigger sense. If we all experience life through our own filters, then no two people can ever truly experience the same reality. This means that conflict, whether between individuals, nations, or ideologies, is often the result of people mistaking their subjective reality for objective truth. Albert Einstein once said, "Reality is merely an illusion, albeit a very persistent one." Now here's where it gets even more fascinating and a little conspiratorial. Some theories suggest that reality itself could be some kind of simulation, like a computer program designed to create the illusion of depth. The famous simulation hypothesis, championed by thinkers like Elon Musk, proposes that our entire universe might be a construct, created by a more advanced civilization. If that's true, then even our perceptions of time, space, and self could be artificial. But does that change anything? Whether we're in a simulation or not, the reality we perceive is still ours. It's still the canvas we have to paint our lives on. What matters isn't whether your red is my blue, but what you do with the colors you've been given. This brings us to spirituality. Many spiritual traditions teach us that perception is an illusion and that the ultimate truth lies beyond the senses. In Hinduism, the concept of Maya describes the world as a veil, obscuring the divine reality beneath. Similarly, Buddhism teaches that our attachments to the physical world, what we see, hear, and feel, keeps us from achieving enlightenment. These ideas remind us that perception is just one layer of existence, and that there's always something deeper to uncover. Personally, I've found that meditation helps me break free from the constant chatter in my mind. When I meditate, I'm not focused on what I see or hear, I'm focused on being. It's like stepping outside of the cave Plato described and catching a glimpse of the sun for the first time. So what's the takeaway? Life is a mystery, and perception is just one piece of the puzzle. Instead of getting stuck on whether your red is my blue, focus on making the most out of your unique experience. Choose to see the beauty even if it's fleeting. As Leonardo da Vinci once said, the smallest feline is a masterpiece. In other words, even the tiniest details of your life, like the color of a flower or the sound of rain, are worth appreciating. And if you're feeling disconnected, remember that we're all in this together. Every person you meet is living in their own reality, shaped by their own perceptions. And that's what makes the human experience so rich and complex. As Carl Sagan said, we are all made of star stuff. Different stars, maybe, but all shining in our own way. Here's another thought to chew on. What if your perception of reality is shaped more by your mind than by the world around you? Consider this story. When I was a kid, I had this habit of walking through the same park every afternoon. To me, it was a magical place. The sunlight danced through the leaves, the birds sang a soundtrack to my life, and the air smelled like freedom. But one day, I overheard someone call it run down and boring. That stuck with me. The next time I walked through, I started to notice things I hadn't before. The cracked benches, the graffiti, the overgrown weeds. It was the same park, but my perception of it had completely changed. This simple experience opened my eyes to a profound truth. Your mindset shapes your world. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote in Meditations, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. If you walk through life expecting disappointment, you'll find it everywhere. But if you train your mind to see beauty, even in the smallest things, a kind smile, a blooming flower, become sources of joy. The science backs this up. Studies have shown that gratitude rewires the brain to focus on positive experiences. One study from UC Berkeley found that people who practice gratitude journaling for just 3 weeks experience significant increases in happiness and decreases in stress. Think about it. By simply choosing to reflect on the good, you can change the way your brain interprets the world. This is where spirituality and psychology meet. Your perception becomes your reality. Let's take this a step deeper into the realm of conspiracy and control. What if the systems we live in, education, media, even our social structures, are designed to manipulate perception? Edward Bernays, the so-called father of public relations, once said, "Those who manipulate this unseen mechanism of society constitute an invisible government, which is the true ruling power of our country." Think about how algorithms on social media feed you content that reinforces your existing beliefs. Are you seeing the world as it is, or as someone wants you to see it? This isn't just a modern issue. Plato's cave is as relevant now as it was thousands of years ago. The shadows on the wall in our time might be headlines, TikToks, or viral tweets. But what if you could step outside the cave? The key isn't to reject all information, it's to question it. Ask yourself, who benefits from the way I perceive this? Whose story am I really living? Here's a personal story to ground this idea. I used to think that failure was the end of the road. When I tried something and fell short, it felt like the world was telling me this isn't for you. But over time, I realized failure is just another form of perception. Thomas Edison famously said, "I have not failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." What changed my perspective was a shift in mindset. Instead of seeing failure as an endpoint, I began to see it as a stepping stone. Every failure taught me something new, something that brought me closer to success. And here's the crazy part. Neuroscience supports this. When you learn from a mistake, your brain literally creates new connections. The neurons involved in the failed attempt strengthen their pathways, making you better prepared for the next challenge. In other words, failure isn't just a teacher, it's a builder. It's constructing a version of you that's more resilient, more adaptable, and more capable. Let's return to the idea of perception and colors. What if the colors we see aren't just reflections of light, but reflections of ourselves? Research from MIT suggests that our emotional state can alter how we perceive color. When you're happy, colors appear brighter. When you're sad, they seem duller. It's as if the world is a mirror, reflecting back the state of your soul. This aligns with the spiritual idea found in many traditions, that the external world is a projection of the internal one. Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh put it beautifully. When you plant lettuce, if it does not grow well, you don't blame the lettuce. You look for reasons it's not doing well. You may need to give it fertilizer, more water, or less sun, yet we blame ourselves or others when we cannot grow. If the colors of your world seem dim, maybe it's not the world that needs changing, maybe it's the way you nurture yourself. To tie it all together, let me tell you one last story. There's a famous parable about a blind man who touches an elephant for the first time. He grabs the trunk and says, "An elephant is like a snake." Another blind man touches the elephant's leg and says, "No, it's like a tree." The third touches its tail and said, "You're both wrong. It's like a rope." None of them is entirely correct, but none of them is entirely wrong either. This story reminds us that perception is always partial, always incomplete. The elephant is your life. You might think it's a tree, or a snake, or a rope, but the truth is, it's much bigger than you can imagine, and that's okay. The beauty of life is that it's an unfolding mystery, a canvas that you can keep painting on. As poet Rainer Maria Rilke wrote, "Be patient toward all that is unsolved in your heart, and try to love the questions themselves." And as always, thanks for watching. Remember to nurture your mindset, question your reality, and find the beauty in life's mysteries. If you enjoyed this deep dive into perception and reality, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's keep building something meaningful together. And until next time, value learning, keep growing, and keep seeing the world with fresh eyes. Peace.